Standard 8 is about accessibility, and by accessibility we mean providing equally effective, equally integrated alternative media to support students with various types of impairments. Now, I talk about creating accessible content in some of the videos below in a fair amount of detail, so I won't go over that again. But I do want to talk about the fact that there are a range of impairments that your students might be dealing with. Some of your students, for example, might have motor issues or cognitive impairments that make it almost impossible for them to attend exercises on campus. So generally, it's a good idea to avoid having on-campus components for satisfying your course requirements. Some students have cognitive impairments that cause them to need extra time on things like tests and learning activities. So generally speaking, it's a good idea to avoid having hard time limits on your quizzes because that can create accessibility issues for those students. Your course material should be accessible to students with hearing impairments. So that includes creating captions on videos, and they should also be accessible to students with visual impairment. So avoid using color as the sole means of conveying importance. And choose technology that's going to be navigable using keyboard shortcuts and screen reader programs. Now, one other requirement that I want to mention is that your course should always include a statement in your syllabus directing the student to guidance on how to obtain an accommodation. So let's go ahead and look at the syllabus for this course. I'm going to open that in a new tab and go to the course information syllabus. And you'll see near the bottom statement of special accommodation. So this is a statement that informs the student that they can get an accommodation through disability services and provides a link to the disability services website. This needs to be a part of every course shell somewhere, this accessibility statement. I would also like to point out that on the main accessibility webpage at www.pcc.edu/access, there are step-by-step instructions for creating accessible content in a variety of formats. And I mentioned this in the video below, but I also want to point out that, for example, if you click on one of these, there's a list of requirements, but also there's a little plus sign that you can open up that gives you specific details on how to accomplish that standard. Some of these also include videos on how to use the tools to satisfy the standard. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew about that. You'll also find on the page some information on the legal side of accessibility. So there have been a number of recent lawsuits that have resulted in settlements where institutions have been required to go in and retrofit all of their existing course materials for accessibility within a fixed deadline that's part of the settlement. So for example, this Louisiana Tech University lawsuit, they had to go in and retrofit all of the course materials that had been created over the last couple of years within a 1-year time frame. And they had to have a plan in place for having a 2-week turnaround on any course materials that were authored before that date. So this is kind of a big deal, and if something like that happened at PCC, we would all be scrabbling around trying to update all of our course materials. So it's not only in the best interest of your students to provide accessible materials, it's also in the interest of PCC to provide accessible materials.